What a day, what a day, what a day, people. What a week. Guys, ready for this episode? Music. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Smells Like Wrasslin. And to be exact, I think this makes it episode, was it 44? 44 of the podcast? Yeah, 44. Awesome stuff. Let's share this link with my homies. Here, where are my peoples? Where are my peoples? Okay. Share it a little bit more. Me. Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Smells Like Wrasslin. Your host, Eric Colon here. Live again on YouTube for another episode of Dynamite, talking about some more wrestling stuff. First, I would like to start the show with a special shout out to a brave little guy out there who isn't feeling well. Theo, this is for you. I hope you feel better, buddy. And we're thinking about you. And keep on being strong and being brave, little dude, all right? Because it's close to Christmas time. So, feel better, little guy. Tonight, got a bunch to talk about. We have the release of Mandy Rose, which happened this morning after she lost the belt last night due to the content that she was selling on her. It's not an OnlyFans, but it's like just another type of it. We had Final Battle on Saturday, which was crazy. So yeah. So we have a bunch of stuff that we need to discuss today. So let's talk about first. And also Vince wants to come back. Apparently, there's a report also. So let's get the Vince stuff out of the way first because, he's just annoying, and I kind of hate him. But so a report comes out. I believe it's the Wall Street Journal that there are more allegations of misconduct and sexual assault on behalf of Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the former CEO and chairman of WWE, who is, at least at this point in time, a majority shareholder of WWE, which is a publicly traded company. Word came out that he felt like he was fed bad advice, and people told him that he should quit, and he thinks it would have blown over, and he shouldn't quit. So there's that. Whether or not that's going to happen, I highly doubt it. I mean, the guy, in terms of a business standpoint, is nuclear. He's radioactive. You can't touch him. All right? The guy embezzled funds from, that's not the exact legal term, but he used company funds to pay for these indiscretions. That's a no-no. That's number one. So from a business standpoint, how do you give shareholder confidence by letting a guy who spent shareholder money on covering up sexual misconduct? Like, how do you let a guy like that back into the company? So that's it for him. Number one. Number two, the allegations are pretty serious. So until this whole situation is cleared up, you really shouldn't have the guy behind the helm of this company and at Raw and at SmackDown every week with these men and women back there. If this guy's a possible predator, so that's another thing. Yeah, and like, like Triple H and Steph have already taken control. You know what I mean? Like, the ball is rolling. Triple H hired people back that Vince fired. Now what? Vince is going to come back and he's just going to fire these people again? I mean, I told this to a friend, a buddy of mine the other day. The best thing that could happen to AEW right now is Vincent McMahon coming back to the WWE. That would be, you want to know why? Because nobody wants to work for Vince. All right. They want to work for WWE. They just don't want to work for Vince. All right. Now, when Vince is a part of WWE, when Vince was a part of WWE, he was WWE. He is WWE. He is that company. Then, now, and forever until another McMahon is at the helm. Like, her husband is also at the helm. Like, it's a family business. Okay. But whether or not this guy, no one likes working for him, though. The guy's a bully. He's out of touch. He's creatively bankrupt. Like, there's nothing left in that brain that Vince could offer people anymore. I think maybe the last golden nugget of an idea that he came out with was the Bloodline, because that story has been going on since before he left. How much of this story that's been going on now that he's already put into play, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure WWE will never let us know, well, this was the Vince stuff and this was the Hunter stuff. Like, that shit's not going to happen. Like, for the sake of that, Vince is still a majority shareholder. Like, they're not going to throw this guy under the bus. They let him retire so that he wouldn't get thrown under the bus in terms of under the auspice of the company. People would go and work with Tony Khan is a saint compared to Vince. All right, Tony Khan is a genius compared to Vince. All right, in terms of creativity as of right now. But if Vince doesn't come back, then that flux is still there, because the stuff that's been going on in WWE since Vince has left has been kind of good. I mean, I've been watching it, and I was a solid not watching it guy. Con, I'm still trying to figure out the callers thing, bud. I'm still trying to figure it out. The best place for us to communicate right now is just through the chat on YouTube. But once I figure it out, then it will be a go. But I just have to tweak a couple of things. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with the podcast, that a lot of moving parts. So a lot of shifting stuff. So, but it's coming. I want this to be a show where I could talk to people live, audibly, and your voices could be on the air. So that is my goal. That is my goal. That will happen. When it will happen exactly, I'm not sure, but mark my words, it will happen. So yeah. So I don't think he's coming back. I don't think there's anything to worry about. They had that documentary, The 9 Lives of Vince McMahon. I didn't bother watching it because I don't give a shit about Vince. All right, I want him gone. I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about him anymore. He's old news. The only reason we're talking about him right now is because that there is now, when there wasn't before, a slim chance of him coming back. That's the only reason that's being mentioned, because him coming back would be another groundbreaking thing in wrestling, and will upend the table again and change the status quo. And we're gonna have to reset the table all over again in terms of what's going on with everybody. But yeah, I just can't see Vince coming back. I don't think it's good for wrestling. I don't think it's good for WWE. I still think that Johnny Gargano deserves all the goddamn belts on the entire planet. But they haven't given it to him yet. So now Jordan is going to have to watch Danielson get low blowed and pinned by MJF. You're going to have to live in this with me now, Jordan. All right? All right? You had your fun. Freaking Gargano had to get pinned by guys like Otis and The Miz. Now you're going to have to take it from MJF. You should just be lucky that it's for a title shot. And not just any title, the title. So that's what you get. All right? You have to live in this sorrow with me. Okay? You, me, Danielson, and Johnny Gargano could all sit on the same couch and we could cry about it together. But I mean, still, like, Triple H's booking has been very good, and I'm excited about the direction of the product and where it's going. I don't want to see that change. Vince needs to go, and hopefully he shall remain. So we'll see what happens there. We had Final Battle this Saturday. Thought it was great. You could tell by the booking that they weren't getting a TV deal. Only reason being because you obviously are now, you could tell that there was a shift of their bigger names and bigger faces that were AEW guys, like, back to AEW. Like, FTR did not retain the ROH belts. Those went back to the Briscoes. That was a clear enough sign as any that that they were not going to be on television. Jericho lost the belt, and it went to Castagnoli. I thought it was interesting that Dalton Castle and the boys dropped their belts. I don't know whether or not they're going to stay in ROH or they're going to be brought over to AEW. But Brian Cage and those other two big gigantic motherfuckers are there as well. So they're the new trios champs. And by the way, I mean, like, we'll talk about this more when I talk about Dynamite, but Jesus Christ, man, like where are my Brian Cage people out there? All right? Because I mean this in all sincerity. Shut the fuck up. The guy is not redeemable. He's not a good wrestler. He's not a good talker. He's just a big guy who could do some moves. But, like, the match that he had with Jungle Boy tonight, you could tell that Jungle Boy it looked like he was walking through mud because he had to slow it down for such a big lumbering guy like Brian Cage. Like, he should just have big hoss matches. He should just have big meaty men matches and fight other big meaty men. That's all that he should be. But this whole shit with him on TV, every single time I see him, I'm like, my God. Remember people, and like his wife was trying to go on Twitter, trying to defend him. Shut up. All right? No one wants to hear from you. All right? You're obviously wrong. Because this guy, no matter where he goes, is never going to be the guy. Period. Never going to be the guy. So, Ring of Honor is not getting a television deal. They're going to be on Honor Club, which is going to be $10 a month. I have no idea how this is going to go going forward. I would assume that, I would hope that they're going to be in the studios at Universal, but it looks like Dark is going there. So either A, ROH and Dark are both going to be at that studio in Universal, or B, ROH is going to be the opening show for every Dynamite, and Dark is going to just stay on that soundstage. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, but, like, Ring of Honor's not getting a television deal. All right? All this talk about there's going to be a deal, he gave a whole 18-minute reason as to why all the shit that we thought was going to happen was never going to happen. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure the majority of that deal got thrown into the shitter when the whole shakeup at Warner Brothers Discovery happened. Because they are, like, they're just not doing any, like, original programming. It's just all going to be syndicated shows. I mean, if you look at HBO Max right now, like, not only did they not renew Westworld, but they're taking Westworld off of HBO. Like, they're taking it off of HBO Max. Like, you can't watch older episodes of that anymore. Like, whatever they are doing, like, they're not spending on anything. If there's stuff on HBO Max that not a lot of people are watching, they're getting rid of it. They are cutting left and right. So once that started happening, it was a fucking popcorn fart chance that Ring of Honor was getting a television deal, since it doesn't look like Warner Brothers Discovery is in the market of making anything new. Nothing. So Ring of Honor will be online, which is fine. I hope it's like an NXT. Like, I really hope it's just kind of like a super indie fed, where, like, which is pretty much what AEW is right now. But, like, I want an hour of uninterrupted, like, North American wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, I want something with better production quality than, you know, like, than Impact or, you know, like NWA. I want better storylines. Like, I just want something, I just want an hour of non-commercial free wrestling that's good. Like, that's the hole in my heart that NXT left. An hour of commercial-free wrestling that I thought was awesome and had good storylines, too. I mean, NXT did a lot of storytelling in 1 hour of television. You know what I mean? So, like, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I'm hoping ROH could recapture some of that magic. They do have a lot of worthwhile names there to watch. They do have a lot of guys who are holding titles that are worthwhile. So I'm excited. Let's see where that goes. But like the whole song and dance and like Tony just like tugging on my dick for week after week and month after month about Ring of Honor and dodging it. He should have just come clean and be like, listen, with the Warner Brothers Discovery merger, like it looks like it's going to be a far shot, but I'm going to keep on fighting for you guys. I'm going to keep trying. I want clear expectations set by the general manager and CEO of pretty much anything that I spend my money on. I want clear expectations set. I want to know what I'm getting my money's worth. And I think when you withhold information and you tiptoe around the tulips and you beat around the bush and you keep me like dangling for week after week, like I hate that shit. I hate it. It makes me respect Tony less. It makes me see him as just any other businessman. And I know he's just another businessman, but like I don't need the shtick. You know what I mean? Be better at deceiving me that you're a businessman, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But like I didn't appreciate it. Athena won and beat Mercedes Martinez. She's the new Ring of Honor Women's Champ. Whatever. Outside of that, I mean, I'm trying to think of anything else that was noteworthy in the past couple of days. But let's get right into Dynamite. Oh, Regal is now with WWE, which I think we already talked about last week, but he's like the vice president of whatever. Good for you, Regal. Make that money, all right? You're a vice president. You're going to make money. You're going to be able to see your son train and do all this stuff. It was nice of Tony just to let the guy out of his contract. He could have just held him to the contract that he signed. You know what I mean? This is what people, and I think wrestling fans don't understand. Contracts aren't just the thing that you just walk away from, all right? There's something called a commitment where you kind of just have to be a man or woman of your word. All right? You sign your name on a dotted line and you come to an agreement with someone, and for better or for worse, you stick it the fuck out. Your contract's for 2 years, you stick it out for 2 years. Your contract's for 5 years, you stick it out for 5 years. So all these people saying, "Wah, I want to be released from my contract." Wah, you must have thought way more of yourself than what you were worth. Or Tony set unclear expectations as to what you should expect from the company you signed up for. But all these people like, oh, release them. No, motherfuckers. Legally, that's it, Royal. Legally binding agreement. You signed a deal, you stick it out. If it doesn't end up turning out your way, too fucking bad. Too fucking bad. All right? So the fact that people are even released from their contracts in AEW is a fucking mile better than what was going on with WWE. When they were just sending people home and letting them sit in their contracts, or saying because you weren't on TV, we're going to extend your contract all the time that you weren't on TV, that we put you on the shelf. And they did that with injuries too. So the fact that Tony's just letting people walk, great. But if people want to say that they want to walk and they're not allowed to walk, and then you want to act like Andrade and be a spoiled bitch and start whining and complaining and start throwing punches at people backstage, then I have no sympathy for you, bro. I have no sympathy for you. You don't like it. You keep your mouth shut. You keep your head down. You show every company out there that for better or worse, you're a team player. You take the L on the chin for whatever. And then you move on to other pastures, or you renegotiate for more money for the same shit. That's how you do it. But no one out there knows what commitment is. No one out there knows what legally binding is. They just feel like, well, if they want to go, they should go. No! They signed a deal as an adult, a legally binding deal. It gets notarized. There's lawyers involved. These wrestlers, I'm pretty sure, have managers, like business managers and agents, and they consult with their friends and their family and their parents, and then they make a decision like a big boy girl. And then when it doesn't work out, they go on Twitter, I want to get released. Fuck you. Absolutely not. That's a shit look. That's not professional. We talked about this a couple of months ago. I went on a rant. Professional wrestler. Be professional. You don't like your contract? Too damn bad. You take it behind closed doors, and if it doesn't work out, you keep your mouth shut about it. That's pretty much it. That's my thoughts on it. What's going? And you know what? That brings me to my next topic, Mandy Rose. All right, a lot of people are like, oh my God, Mandy Rose got. First off, all right, there's a, like, when you're on action figures, when you're at like Make-A-Wish and shit, there, and when you have advertisers, there are just some lines that they just don't want you to cross. They want you to be hot. They want you to be sexy. They want you to be a tease, but don't give up the goodies. That's like the unwritten rule. Now, do I know anything about this firsthand? Absolutely fucking not. All right? So, all of this is just assumption and speculation on my part. All right? If she assumed that putting that shit behind a paywall wasn't going to bite her in the ass, she's dumber than I thought. All right? Now, you could tell that she knew that there was a line based on what she posted, but you could tell that she was pushing that line harder than anybody else out there. All right? Anybody else out there. So, like, that line was being pushed. And you know what? It crossed the line. It crossed the line. It crossed the line. Even if it was insinuated penetration, or if it was actual penetration, like, that's just not, like, I can't think of any company out there that if they found out one of their employees was doing that they wouldn't have some sort of say on it. I don't care if you're a wrestler or an athlete or you're freaking bagging groceries at the grocery store. All right? There are just some looks that corporate doesn't like. And the only corporations that like it are the corporations that sell it. All right? So, but hey, not for nothing, people. She was making more money on that website than she was making in NXT. All right? People tipping her literal thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. Each stream. She's going to be fine. She's better off. She left with class after NXT. She tweeted, you know, like, thank you everyone. You know what I mean? That leads me to believe that she had to have known that she was getting fired the next day, and they told her she was dropping the belt. I think she handled it very professionally. All right? I think financially and professionally, she's going to be fine. We don't know if she knew that she crossed the line or not. We don't know if she was trying to just push the limits of what would be allowed. We don't know if she was issued any warnings behind closed doors by WWE. Hey, listen, put the nipples away. Hey, listen, don't make it look like you're banging your husband on this website. Like, we don't know any of that. All we know is that Tuesday night she defended the title. Tuesday night she lost it. She tweeted out, thank you, everyone. And then the next morning, we all woke up to news that she was let go, and it was because of her website. So we don't know. But that goes back to contracts. All right? If they said, hey, listen, you could have this website. You want to, you want to show yourself in bikinis. You want to do a hand bra. You want to do this and do that and tease it up and make your money, cool. But the second you get even slightly over into that XXX rated content, we're gonna can you. If she knew that going in, then what can you say? She broke the terms of her contract, which apparently, based on the tweet, they said she did. So who knows? But she's done. And she'll be fine. She didn't belong in the WWE anyways. She wasn't a good wrestler. She wasn't a good talker. She wasn't good at anything. She was just good looking. She wasn't good at anything but being good to look at. So make money at being good to look at. That is she knows that she's making money off of it already. If she didn't think she was doing that, she wouldn't have created her own OnlyFans. She's going to be fine. For fans of hers, pay that subscription. You'll see as much of her as you want. I'm pretty sure now that she's not working with WWE, if she wants to push the envelope even more and make even more money, which she is entitled to doing, and she can do, because definitely she will make more money posting more explicit content, she will be fine. She'll be fine. She's also like a model and a fitness model and a world-class bodybuilder. She's going to be fine. She doesn't need WWE. She got the exposure. She got everything that she needed from it to continue to live a very successful career in whatever element she decides to do. But wrestling wasn't it. Now that that's done. Josh in the chat wants to know what my take is on the Vince return. It's a slim chance of it happening. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the podcast. It's a slim chance of it happening. If it does happen, it's the best thing that can happen to AEW because Vince is an idiot. He can't run the company. It's plain and simple proven that the last 15, 20 years of him giving us bullshit is proof enough. So no. I don't think the investors want him back. I don't think the wrestlers want him back. I don't think the higher-ups and the CEOs want him back. I think the only person who wants Vince back is Vince. And that's it. Tonight's Dynamite. Winter's coming. We had Ruby Soho versus Ty Mello. We had match number 4 of Death Triangle versus the Elite with Death Triangle up to 2 matches to 1. House of Black in action. Winner takes all match between MJF and Ricky Starks for the AEW Dynamite Diamond Ring and the AEW World Championship. And a bunch of other stuff happened. We're going to get through it right now. So apparently Tony had said that he bought one of his favorite songs. Where's my fucking... Did I leave it over there? Hold on one moment, please. Oh my God. Okay. So Tony had said in the tweet that he had gotten one of his favorite songs ever. He got the licensing rights and he's going to use it. So apparently it's Round Ball Rock. That's like what the NBA on NBC, like when I was growing up, would play. Like when the Knicks were actually decent and they were in the finals. Like that was the song that they would play. So, I mean, me, like, just based on just my age and whatnot and my like connection to the song, like I liked that we heard it. But I will say that they were desperately trying to fit it in areas where it didn't work out. Like it was just like the production and how the sound dropped and all that shit. Like it just needs to be a little bit crisper. It's obvious he wants that to be the theme music of this Best of 7 series. It just has to be done a little bit better. But legit, it reminded me of like watching basketball in like the early to mid 90s. You know what I mean? Like that, I thought, for me, I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. This is stuff that reminds me of like John Starks dunking on Michael Jordan. This reminds me of when frickin' Jeff Van Gundy was holding on to Alonzo Mourning's calves for dear life when they had that huge fight. Like, do you guys remember this shit? Like, I think maybe like Royal and Josh in the chat, maybe like they would know it because I know you guys are close to my age. But like, you remember that shit? Remember back in the day? And then Patrick Ewing's like, Pyaw! You know, like that shit happened. That was, so I liked it. It needs to be a little bit more crisper on the production side. They got to put in the right spots. But yeah, it was just interesting. Like, and then like they just have Excalibur talk over everything so much that it's like hard to hear anything. So all I heard was freaking Excalibur going, and when you hear in the background. So it's just like, you know, whatever. You remember that defense? You remember the Knicks back? It was Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley. Like, those were some hard-hitting motherfuckers back then, all right? That was when basketball was really played. That was when, like, defense was, like, freaking street defense. You know what I'm talking about? People were throwing elbows. No one was calling fouls. There was no flopping. None of that bullshit, all right? I miss that kind of basketball because that was some fiery shit. And then I feel like Malice at the Palace happened and they were like, cut this shit out. I mean, am I right or am I wrong? Do you, like, Marcus Camby? Yeah. Latrell Sprewell? Allen Houston? Remember that shit? Remember that team? Remember Larry Johnson? The 4-point play? Remember that? The 3-pointer and the foul? What was that, against Indiana? Against the Pacers? LJ? I remember that. That was those are some wild times, man. We haven't had times like that as a Knicks fan since, I think maybe the closest we got to it was like around Linsanity. You know what I mean? When they were like making it to the playoffs and we had Carmelo Anthony and shit. So it was, yeah. Ron Artest is the last survivor. Yeah. But, like, am I wrong? Like, do you feel like that's when you know, like, basketball took a turn and they started enforcing fouls a lot harder after that, you know, after Malice at the Palace? What was that? It was Detroit versus who? Was that Detroit versus Indiana? 20 years ago, right? Wow. That's wild. That was some crazy shit. But yeah, that's what it made me think of. When that song came on, that's exactly what it made me think of. That's good times. Wasn't it I think the Knicks made it to the finals that one year? Didn't you lose to Houston? Right? Wasn't that when Houston had Hakeem Olajuwon? Am I bugging out? Was that when the Knicks made it to the finals and they lost? Oh, yeah, Ben Wallace was part of that, yeah. So, but yeah, I thought it was, I like that they had the song. And it was good to reminisce. But, so, you could tell they're trying to be as creative as possible with this best of 7 series. They're trying to make every match a little unique. So, this one told the story of Nick getting injured, and then Death Triangle reintroducing the hammer on the injured Nick Jackson to go for the win, which leads to Omega calling for the next match, which I think this is what, match 5? Right? Because they have to win 3 in a row. It's 3-1, Death Triangle. So that's 4 matches. Yeah, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah. They're going to make it a no DQ match. They're going to make the 7th match a ladder match, and I forgot what they were making match 6. I gotta go through the notes again, but there was a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker into a double stomp from the top rope that led to dives on everyone from Death Triangle. All right. But like after this, Nick started selling the ankle. And then that was when like he tagged out. Omega went to tag him in at a certain point. He said, no, I can't. Then he walked off. He walked up the ramp. Oh, it was false count anywhere. Okay. Then he walked up the ramp and was being checked on by medical. Now, he did make an appearance at the end of the match, but it was really just to take the pin and sell the fact that the Death Triangle were going to use the hammer again. So Death Triangle used the hammer. They hit him in the bad leg or the bad ankle. And that was the end. Omega takes the mic. He said a 3-1 deficit's a lot to come back from. But since Death Triangle uses the hammer, we're going to make it legal. Then he's like, you know what? How about all weapons are illegal? He's like, you know what? How about we make this next match a no DQ? So it looks like the Bucks and Omega are going to win all the gimmick matches that are happening. Because the first 4 were straight up matches. The last 3, it's going to be no DQ False Count Anywhere, Escalera de la Muerte. So that's happening. But yeah. Backstage, Alex Marvez is with MJF. He said, last week, people said that it was a star-making performance by Ricky Starks, while by the first Dynamite, MJF was already a star, and it took Starks this long to do it. And he's like, at 26 years old, MJF is a star maker. He freaking verbally undressed Starks, shit all over him in his promo, shit all over the fans. Said he grew. Then MJF says that that he himself grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth, and he's not under any pressure tonight. He already has it all, while Starks has everyone to let down, and he's gonna turn the pebble into dust. The Acclaimed went to the ring. They started a rap, and they got attacked by Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Jeff Jarrett, and Satnam Singh. That faction right now is like a step below the Factory for me in terms of a bunch of just a bunch of goons running around and interfering in storylines in which I don't want them to interfere in. So, Caster gets laid out by a guitar shot by Jeff Jarrett. Jarrett says, scissor this, slap nuts, and throws the belts on him. So it looks like the next challenge for the Acclaimed is going to be Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Tony Schiavone is backstage with the Jericho Appreciation Society. He's with Jericho. Jericho refers to Claudio Castagnoli as a flash in the pan like Joe Exotic or Ricky Starks. He says tonight he's going to take his frustrations on a tune-up match that he's going to have, beating up some jobber before getting his ROH title match, because I guess he's getting a rematch. Jericho said that Daniel Garcia should have never lost the pure title, and he's going to shadow his elder, Sammy Guevara, on Rampage, and Garcia did not look too pleased on having to be basically Sammy Guevara's young boy. So we'll see what happens there. Jungle Boy Jack Perry defeats the newly minted one of the ROH six-man champions, Brian Cage, in a freaking horrible match. They just put two boring people together. Jungle Boy, like, he's a good wrestler, but his character is boring. His mic work is boring. Like, he needs to do something more to get my attention, because right now I'm just like, ugh. You know what I mean? And he's just fighting a bunch of losers. Like, you could tell that he was meant to fight Christian Cage ages ago. And they're trying to keep him on TV long enough so that when he fights Christian, people still care about it. That's pretty much what's happening. So I just thought it was a boring match. I don't like Brian Cage as a wrestler. I just don't like him at all. And I just don't want to see him on TV. I'd rather just see other people on TV. I would rather have seen Jungle Boy fight someone else, but he fought Brian Cage and beat him. The guy who just won the ROH tag title, just won the ROH six-man belt, and he lost already to fucking Jungle Boy. So there you go. At the end of the match, Jungle Boy calls out Big Bill, a.k.a. W. Morrissey, a.k.a. Big Cass, 7 feet tall, and you can't teach that. He called him out. He said he beat Luchasaurus, he beat Brian Cage, he's calling out the biggest bitch of them all. He calls out Big Bill. Stokely Hathaway comes down, says that Jungle Boy constantly pisses him off, and says he's going to feel two things. He's going to see two things tonight. The bottom of Big Bill's boot and the backhand of Stokely Hathaway, because he's a hoe. So Stokely Hathaway's going to slap a hoe. It's pretty much what he's saying. Jungle Boy was about to go and beat up Stokely until Lee Moriarty and Big Bill show up. they start beating the shit out of Jungle Boy, and fucking Hook comes out on Dynamite. I haven't seen Hook in forever, but I feel like the only reason I haven't seen him in forever is because I don't watch Rampage anymore. So, Hook shows up. I just thought it was weird that Big Bill ran away from Hook when Big Bill is pretty much like 4 times bigger than Hook, and Jungle Boy was already laid out, and they had the numbers advantage. Whatever. So, Hook holds out his hand and helps him up, and I guess Hook has Jungle Boy's back. So there you go. Blackpool Combat Club cuts a promo backstage from Moxley, recapping the last couple of days with Castagnoli winning the ROH title, Wheeler Yuta beating Daniel Garcia and winning the Pure title, and Moxley choking out Takeshita on Rampage, which, by the way, was an awesome match. I forgot to tell you guys, I actually watched Rampage this past week because of Mox and Takeshita, and I saw that match, and it was great, so definitely check it out. It looks like they are trying to put worthwhile people and worthwhile matches on Rampage. They just have a lot of work to go. Castagnoli said they'll show up everywhere. Yuta said if anyone wants a shot, they can have it. Moxley said he's going to stomp Sammy Guevara's face into a bloody mess on Rampage because Sammy Guevara and that in that Jericho promo called out Mox and said that they were going to fight on Rampage. Moxley also told Hangman he knows where to find him and told him to bring his Dark Order buddies if he wants. So the Hangman Moxley feud continues to bubble. I guess that's gonna pop off probably. I don't know when. I mean, I don't know if they could keep this going until Revolution, which isn't until early March. I mean, we're already in the middle of December anyway, so that's about, I don't know, 8 to 10 episodes of Dynamite left to go before then. So maybe if they have enough juice to put on 10 weeks of it, then that's fine. But it looks like they're going to keep Mox warm by having him fight the Jericho Appreciation Society every once in a while, and then probably members of the Dark Order just to piss off Hangman, and then Hangman himself. So, yeah. Swerve Strickland's in a video talking about his actions on Final Battle, where he pretty much walked out on Keith Lee. I mean, they've walked out on each other at this point. They've left each other hanging on fist bumps at this point. They have pretty much bad-mouthed each other at this point. Now maybe I guess we're finally going to get to that grudge match that we've been waiting for between Swerve and Keith Lee. I think that the promos between these two should be great. I think Keith Lee should stop trying to say a whole bunch of big words and trying to act like he's some sort of big-time intellectual. I don't give a shit if he is a big-time intellectual. Stop fucking talking weird, all right? Just speak normally. No one talks like that. Not even smart fucking people talk like that. So when you cut your promos, let's keep words to like maybe 2 syllables a pop. Okay? It's unnecessary. So they're going to have a face-off on Dynamite next week. They're not going to fight, but they're going to talk it out. Because what better than hashing out private disputes in front of a live studio audience? House of Black comes out to fight the Factory. I fucking hate the Factory. It's just another job squad. The Factory, Jay Lethal's group, the freaking Workhorsemen, all those jobber groups. Like, I don't want to freaking see them on Dynamite. But someone needed to get murdered by the House of Black. And tonight, it was the Factory. And the House of Black did exactly that. They beat the ever-loving shit out of these guys. They, Camarado threw a lollipop at Julia Hart. Julia Hart sprayed the mist in Camarado's face. This was immediately followed up by the Factory getting absolutely dismantled. It looks like they are obviously building up House of Black to be the major force in the Trios division. And being that the Elite are back and they're actually going to start taking a Trios division seriously, this is how you build up contenders. You start seeing them going through a road of dominance for several weeks until you're like, shit, man, imagine if these guys challenged like the champs. Like, these guys are really good. Like, maybe let's see how they would fare against like the best team in that division. So, thank God. Maybe someone in AEW is fucking watching the show and figuring out that strong contenders make strong champions. And that's how you make good championship reigns. That's how you make title matches mean something. And that's how you make titles mean something. Anywho, Jamie Hayter and Hikaru Shida are going to fight next week on Dynamite, being that Hikaru Shida was able to defend her title that she won in Japan against the Bunny, which allowed her to challenge for the AEW Women's title. Renee Paquette is backstage with Britt Baker and Rebel. Baker says it's not going to be a big thing for Hayter to beat Shida. Baker beat her with a broken nose. Sky Blue pops up, challenges her for Rampage. Baker was pretty just a little bit taken aback by it and insulted, but she accepted. So there we go. Sky Blue and Britt Baker. This again, they're putting more big names on Rampage. Is that match alone going to make me watch Rampage? No. It will need more than that. This, I feel like might have been match of the night. And one of the biggest shocks and surprises of the evening. So Jericho's tune-up match happens. He fights Action Andretti. Jericho wanted a tune-up match, and he sure as fuck got it. Now, if you guys remember when the Lightning Kid beat Razor Ramon, remember that? 1, 2, 3 Kid? This was that match. Jericho was just disrespecting Andretti. He was stopping him. The crowd was chanting, "Let's go jobber," because Jericho called him a jobber. Andretti started to mount a comeback, and he got a pretty big reaction from the crowd. Then Jericho started beating the shit out of him some more, so it kind of stifled the crowd again. This crowd was slowly and surely getting behind Action Andretti throughout this entire match. They wanted to see a guy who they knew had no chance of beating the Ocho, Chris Jericho, to win. And Jericho gave him everything. Everything. Even the guy kicked out. He even kicked out of a code breaker. I was shocked. I thought that was it. It went through the commercial break. We went back from the commercial break. The chants are even louder. Let's go jobber. This guy's firing back with chops. He gets eye poked. He gets a flying forearm. He goes for a clothesline. He goes for a backbreaker. He goes into a neck breaker. Then he tried to go for a split-legged moonsault. Jericho got the knees up. Then Jericho tries to hit the Judas effect, misses, hits a springboard kick, knocks Jericho outside. Dude hits a springboard moonsault. He tried to go for another springboard, but then got caught in the walls of Jericho. Ended up getting rolled up. Does a tilt-a-whirl into a DDT. I can't believe that I took mad notes on this match. Got a running, standing, shooting star press and pins Chris Jericho clean. The crowd went nuts. I went nuts. The chats I was talking in went nuts. Nobody saw this coming. Action Andretti beats Chris Jericho in his AEW debut. The crowd goes wild. He runs around. He's slapping fives. Jericho is furious. What was supposed to be a tune-up match, and Jericho ended up just eating shit. It was fantastic. It was a fantastic, fantastic moment. This is why you don't do this kind of thing all the time. Because when you do it rarely, it's a great moment. And that's exactly what happened. Chris Jericho is the greatest wrestler of all time. I'll say this again. Chris Jericho is the greatest wrestler of all time. Okay? This guy has always been relevant. He has always been over. He has always reinvented himself. Every single thing he does when he reinvents himself ends up being a banger. Even back when he was just like walking around in a suit, Chris Jericho, and like never smiled. Remember when he came out, he didn't talk to anyone for 3 weeks on Raw? This is the guy who beat The Rock and Stone Cold in the same night to be the undisputed champ. This is the guy who was a cruiserweight master. This is the guy who became the Painmaker and went to New Japan. And basically, the match that he had with Omega is basically what led AEW to be formed. This is the guy who created a little bit of the bubbly, El Champion, the Ocho. When they count when they do a 10 count in AEW, the number 8 is no longer the number 8. It is now Ocho! Chris Jericho, his own theme music that he sings himself is over. All right? The guy even brought back old gimmicks and made them more over now than they were when he first made the gimmicks. Chris Jericho is the greatest wrestler of all time. Chris Jericho is putting on banger matches with guys half his age. Chris Jericho is putting on banger matches with guys right his age. All right? And you know what? It was a big deal that the WWE couldn't hold on to him. And it was because they wouldn't let him do the things that he wanted to do. Him versus Owens should have been the main event at Mania. All right? And it should have been for the belt. And I think both him and Owens are just as salty about that as I am. And I think as just as salty about that as a lot of the fans. All right? Chris Jericho is the greatest wrestler of all time. You should clip that rant, Doom. All right? Clip that bitch. Ricky Starks is backstage. He said he woke up this morning knowing tonight will be his night. He said it's been a long time for him in AEW not knowing if he'd make it to this moment, even after he suffered that broken neck. He says MJF is all about ratings, but no one cares. Starks has a lot riding on tonight when he becomes the next AEW champion. They played a recap of the awesome dog collar match between FTR and the Briscoes, in which the Briscoes reclaimed their ROH titles and beat FTR, taking the belts off of them. FTR brings up Gun Club, who they say are desperate for attention and they have daddy issues. They have nothing that FTR want, but if building a legacy means going through them, then so be it. So it's going to be FTR versus the Gun Club. And I assume FTR is going to beat the shit out of them. So there you go. But it gives the Gun Club some time. They're probably going to give them a bunch in the match. They need to start building up other tag teams. The Gun Club's part of the tag team division. That's what happens when you're top guys. You help put other guys over. Do I think it's Gun Club's time to be beating teams like FTR? No. But I do think that they should get they should get a decent amount of offense in that match. Jericho is shown having a huge temper tantrum backstage after his loss to Action Andretti. So he's pretty pissed about it. Will we get a second match? Will this be a trilogy? Do you think Action Andretti could actually beat him 3-0 in a trilogy? Will Jericho just beat him again in the rematch? Who knows? But I'm interested. Ricky Starks is shown warming up in the back with those little bungee strings. MJF's getting massaged, posing, looking at his phone. Ruby Soho comes back and returns and defeats Ty Mello. It was a match. Alex Marvez is backstage talking to Hangman, who's getting checked on by a doctor, and he's with Evil Uno. Paige said that the update was, and then he basically kind of went into detail as to what happened the night Hangman legitimately knocked him out on national television, and they had to stop the match because his clock was fucking cleaned. He said he was unconscious for a full 60 seconds. He said he came to, he learned he had 100 text messages, and he unlocked his phone and saw his son's photo, his newborn son, which he had earlier this year, and couldn't remember his name. And he said that was hell. And he said that if Moxley wants to send him to hell, then he's taking Moxley with him. So I am hoping, I am liking where this is going. Hangman is almost had his career ended by Moxley when Moxley, King Kong lariated him into another fucking dimension. The guy couldn't even remember his newborn son's name for the first hour that he was out. And, yeah, that would make me pissed off too. I would want some payback. I would want some vengeance. I just don't want to see Hangman cry anymore. Enough with the crying. Enough with the sensitive cowboy shit. Enough. I just want to see him man up, be angry, and beat the shit out of someone. We've already seen the sensitive cowboy. Now I want to see the mean, badass cowboy. And I haven't seen it yet. I feel like we're almost there. We were seeing that in the lead up when he jumped Mox. We kind of lost that a little bit tonight with his little, you know. Mox never cries. Mox never gets choked up. That's why I like Moxley. That's why I want to like Hangman. But Hangman just keeps crying. Stop crying! MJF defeats Ricky Starks, defending his AEW World title and the Dynamite Diamond Ring. So a good back and forth match. I feel like there were a couple of times where I thought MJF might have almost died, but he was able to avoid dying. I feel like, I don't know, it was just a solid match. I feel like the lead up was all that Starks needed to cement himself as a main event guy because we already knew that he could do it in the ring. But it was a solid match. MJF wins with a low blow. This is obviously going to be his shtick. He's never going to win. I don't think this guy's ever going to win clean unless it's going to... I don't think he's ever going to win clean. I think it's going to be a rotating door of knucks, ring, low blow, interference. That's what I think. Until they build up someone to beat him in 2 years. Because be ready, guys. This guy's holding on to the belt until 2024, I think. But that's pretty much it. MJF won. MJF's about to go up the ramp to leave, and fucking Bryan Danielson's music hits. And Danielson chased him through the crowd. He helped up Starks, held his hand in the air, gave him props for his performance. It looks like Danielson is the next guy on the list. MJF put up a list on Twitter of people who he's going to beat for the belt. Bryan Danielson was on the list. Eddie Kingston was on the list. Hangman was on the list. Ricky Starks was on the list. A bunch of people were on that list. So, I guess he's going to go through that list. I'm curious if we are seeing all the people that MJF is going to beat for this belt. But that's pretty much it. That would be the show for tonight. And like I said, there's going to be updates and changes to the channel in the months and weeks to come. Get all your information right here first until there's another means or method that I could give you guys information on updates to the channel. But aside from that, people, that's all I got for you tonight. I am going to play some Call of Duty. But thank you guys all for tuning in. I appreciate it. We had a really good, solid chat tonight. Thank you to Khan. Thank you to Doom. Thank you to Royal. Thank you to Josh for all you guys being in the chat tonight. And I'll play some outro music, and I will see you guys next week.